What's going on, everybody? Jake here with Venter Visuals, and today I am absolutely fired up because we're going to be breaking down some music video effects used in EST GEE's music videos. I actually hadn't really listened to a lot of EST GEE prior to a few of you commenting on my videos, asking me to make a tutorial on some of his music video effects. I appreciate everybody who comments on my videos and gives me ideas on what types of tutorials to make. So if you have any artists that you really like to watch, definitely comment down below if you want to see me do a tutorial breakdown on some of the effects used in their music videos too. I believe EST GEE works with a variety of different directors and cinematographers. Given that he probably works with a label and has a bigger budget, a lot of his videos are edited by the same guy, and that guy is Jay Kastle. I will make sure to include links below to everybody involved in the projects that we are going to be breaking down today. If you're hyped to be learning some new effects today, hit the like button down below and let's get into the tutorial. The first effect we're going to be breaking down today is this type of dreamy look that you're seeing in his music video called Hell. On our timeline here, we actually have a couple clips of the actual music video by EST GEE itself. And you can see in these clips, you get this really kind of hazy glow look that kind of gives it that dreamy, surreal type of vibe. And this look repeats itself throughout this music video. So a little bit farther down my timeline here, I got a clip from a music video I shot a few years ago called Dubai. It's on my channel if you want to check it out. So the first thing I'm going to do is hold Option and duplicate this clip several times here. So we have 3 different copies of the same clip. Take your top clip and change the blend mode from normal to linear dodge. Take your middle clip and do the same thing. Once you've changed the blending mode of your top 2 clips, what you're going to do is go to your effects panel and type in RGB, and you're going to see this effect called color balance RGB. So we're going to take that color balance RGB and throw it onto our top clip here. And we're going to change the values of green and blue down to 0, and we're going to keep red at 100. What I'm going to do now is just copy paste this color balance RGB to this middle layer as well, except on this middle layer we're going to change the red value from 100 to 0, and then we're going to change the green to 100 and keep the blue at 0 as well. And then we're going to do the same thing for blue. We're going to copy paste this color balance RGB onto our bottom clip, and we're going to make the top 2 0 and the blue 100, and boom. It's not going to look any different from the original clip, and this is because we haven't done anything to kind of manipulate the sizing and scale of these top 2 clips. On this top clip, for example, we can change the scale to 106, and that's going to pop out those side colors on the edges. Take our middle layer now and change the scale to 104. And then you can take the very bottom layer and keep it at 100 or change it to 102. And now we have a much sharper chromatic aberration around the edges of our subject. So that's what chromatic aberration is. It's just this little flare between the RGB that's kind of coming off of all the edges here. I like to add a little bit of lens distortion on top of this to give it an even more distinct look. So what I'm going to do is take a lens distortion effect, apply it to my top clip, and I'm going to change the curvature to -6. And then I'm going to copy paste this lens distortion onto my video layer 2, except this time I'm going to change it to -4. And then same thing, we're going to put it on the very bottom layer, and this time change it to -2. So it kind of warps the edges a little bit more around the center of our frame. I noticed that in their music video, these colors really blend together. You can see them really blending together around the edges. They're not so separate from each other like our example is right now. Now you can see how separate each of those layers look. So in order to kind of counter this and blend it all together a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of those clips, right click and hit nest, hit OK, apply a Gaussian blur to this nested sequence. So boom, right there. And I'm just gonna change the blurriness until those colors really start to blend together. Unfortunately, this blurs the entire frame. So what we have to do is create a mask on our Gaussian blur. I'm just gonna hold Shift on the circle and drag it up and down to the very edge of the frame. And then what I'm going to do to make sure that this blurs the outside and not the inside, because we don't want the artist to be blurry, we want the area around him to be kind of blurry. What I'm gonna do is just hit inverted right there, and then I'm gonna take my feather way up here so it really blends with our chromatic aberration right there. So now you're seeing those colors are really blending together on the edges while our artist stays in focus there. You can see that the edges get a little bit more distorted than the middle. The edges are also a little bit more blurry than the very middle of the frame where EST GEE is performing. Keeps him in focus that way, but also creates this type of like warpy, trippy, I don't know, dreamlike effect around the edges. You can even keyframe the Gaussian blur mask so that it follows the artist, you know, around the frame. So we can make a mask path right there, a little mask path keyframe, and then he's over here. I can take the blurriness down on my nested sequence so it's a little bit less blurry, a little bit less noticeable that way. So I placed the original clip here on top of our nested sequence that has all the effects on it. So you can see what the original clip looks like here. And now if I turn this layer off and reveal the effects layer, you can see how much different it looks around the edges. It really just gives it that trippy vibe. You can really see some of this popping out, this chromatic aberration compared to the original shot. So again, guys, it's all up to you how you customize this and how you want to make it look. The next effect we're going to be breaking down today is this kind of building slide in transition here that we see in EST GEE's music video called Blood. Now you'll see in a lot of these clips right here, this building on the outside, this mansion, slides in from several different areas really quickly to kind of create this really cool trippy transition, this kind of puzzle piece transition here. If I scroll over it frame by frame, you can see exactly what's happening. You can see that the editor has cut out the top, the sides, and the bottom and slid them in using some masking and some transforms. So this is actually a really simple effect to do. The key to this effect is having a shot that works with it. So you can see in this backyard, it's really easy to figure out which sections to kind of cut out. So it's really easy to recreate this type of effect if you have a scene that has kind of multiple areas that are really easily defined. I'm actually going to use their music video clip for this example. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this last clip here where it's zooming out of the mansion, and we're going to recreate the same effect on this clip. Start on the very first frame of this clip. I'm going to right click and hit add frame hold. This is going to create a freeze frame over that first frame of this clip that I cut out. So in their example, if we take a look here, you can see that they have 4 different sections that are sliding in. They have the sides, the top, and the bottom. So there's 4 different sections, which means they needed 4 different layers to make this clip work. So what we need to do is create 4 different layers. So I'm gonna hold Option, and I'm gonna drag this clip on top of itself 4 times here, hide the bottom layer so we can really see the masks that we're going to create. So with this top layer selected, what I'm gonna do is come over here to opacity. I'm gonna grab my pen tool, and I'm just gonna create an outline of kind of this top half, just like they did in the music video. And I'm gonna connect it right there so it makes this little box. So you can see because we turned off the layers below it, we can't see anything behind this top layer. So we can see exactly how our mask is looking. So this looks really good to me. What I'm gonna do now is just hide this layer and turn on this layer 2. Now with this layer 2 selected, let's go ahead and do this left side right here. So what I'm gonna do is again, take that pen tool from the mask, and I'm just gonna roughly create a little area right here on the left side of the frame. Now we're gonna go down and do the same thing on the next layer. So we're gonna do another opacity pen tool over here on the next side, on the right side over here. So boom, turn on our bottom layer, and we're gonna do the same thing with the bottom half of this clip. So what I'm gonna do is just create a nice even line there at the bottom, and we're gonna use our pen tool to create these points, this mask right here, so we have the bottom half. Now when I turn all of these layers back on, we should almost get the entire clip. Now you can see there's a little bit of separation here in the middle. So what I need to do is take this very bottom mask right here. We can just adjust this mask so we don't have any space right there. You can see a little space happening right here as well. Let's take our right side mask and just adjust those points over a little bit just so we can see the entire clip with all these layers turned on. So now that we've masked all of these different clips, what we need to do is nest each of them. So I'm gonna right click on each of them and just hit nest. We're gonna throw a transform effect onto each of these layers here. Starting with this first one, I'm gonna go ahead and throw that transform on there, and I'm gonna make a keyframe point under position and drag that to the very beginning. And now I'm going to make another keyframe. We're gonna drag it up out of the top like that. I'm gonna drag that keyframe a little bit farther away to the end. So now you can see it's kind of revealing the background behind it. So this is really the foundation of this effect. Now what you can do with transform, and why I like using transform so much over just the default position and scale, is you can turn up the shutter angle, which is going to increase the motion blur on whatever's moving out of the frame. It's just gonna give it a little bit more of a natural look. So what I'm gonna do now is just apply this same transform effect to each one of these other layers here. So this next one is our left side here. So what I'm gonna do is just make a position keyframe there. there, and we're gonna slide this one out to the left, just like that. We're gonna move that keyframe farther to the end. We're gonna turn that shutter angle up so it gets blurry, and then repeat that same process for the rest of these layers. Now to kind of give it more of a visual, what we can do is just take a clip and put it underneath this transition that we just created, so you can really see how it opens up into the next clip. So you can see once we put this transition and make this transition happen, we can put another clip underneath it on the video layer below. And now if I wanted to clean this up even a little bit more, I could nest them all together. So boom, so it looks like it's just one layer on my timeline. Theirs goes into the shot, the one we did kind of falls out of the shot like that. But it's the same concept, guys. It's just masking, nesting, and using the transform effect to add some motion. So the third effect I'm going to be breaking down today is this really quick and clean kind of streak overlay effect that they do in EST GEE's music video called Never Scared. Now if I play this music video back here, you can see all these little overlays that kind of flash over these performance shots, and I thought this was really, really cool. So what I'm going to do is just take any of these clips in my music video. I'm going to hold Option, I'm going to drag it up to its own layer. What I'm going to do now is hit Command R, and I'm going to speed this clip up to, let's go to 4000%, and we're going to hit OK. Now that's going to shrink it down quite a bit here. I'm just going to expand that so it's a little easier to see. Change our opacity blend mode from normal. Let's change it to screen, and let's take the opacity down to about 80%. And I realized that in their music video, Never Scared, they have this directional blur placed on a lot of these overlays. So if I just find, let's just find one here. So here's an overlay. You can see how streaky and blurry these overlays are right here. Now, in order to get kind of these streaky overlays, what we need to do with our own clip is add a directional blur. So we're going to add a directional blur to this overlay that we're creating, and we're going to change the blur length. So right about there, you can see how blurry it's getting. Now, if I hide this bottom layer, you can see without our clip that we're overlaying on how much blur is impacting this overlay. So we're gonna make it pretty blurry right about there. And now what I'm gonna do to kind of give this some motion is I'm gonna keyframe the direction. So I'm gonna make a keyframe under direction and just change the direction. You can see how the lines kind of shift across the frame. So we can go with vertical lines and we can keyframe them so they're more diagonal later on in the clip. With this second keyframe, I'm just gonna drag it here to the end. Now, if I turn our original clip back on that we're overlaying, we can see the streaky, you know, type of look that we're getting here, the streaky blur overlay type of look that just looks really cool. And now what I'm gonna do is just kind of chop this up. We're gonna make it really short. Let's make it like about 5 frames, and let's just put it at the end of this clip so that it starts right when we're transitioning into the next clip. So I'm actually just gonna loop this little area right here so we can watch this effect over and over again. So you can see that little blur effect is just a nice way to kind of transition into the next clip. And you can also use this effect just over any footage. It doesn't have to be a transition. So if we move this or if we duplicate this, let's throw it over another clip. Let's just drag it out so it's a little different here. Let's adjust our directional blur keyframes on that direction. So over here, boom, get a little different look that way over here. You can see it looks really cool as just like kind of a default overlay. You don't have to be using these as transitions. And that's what they did in the Never Scared music video. So I thought this was really cool, really simple effect that really brought a lot of juice to the music video edit. So if I play these overlays back at full speed on loop, we can really see how this is juicing up our music video. So it's just adding a little bit more flavor. It's giving it some flair. And again, it's just such an easy effect to create. You can just throw these all over the timeline, which is what they did in the EST GEE music video. You can see on their music video, if I just play it one more time here, how many that they use on this edit. So again, it's probably like every 2 seconds there's a new blur overlay that just looks really cool. It kind of adds that flavor to their edit. So this final effect we're going to be breaking down are these little hits and shakes that you see in the EST GEE 42 Doug music video called Free the Shiners. I really think this adds a lot of power and energy and movement to their edit. And these types of jitter shake effects are really, really simple and easy to create. And once you create a few of them, you can save them as presets and throw them around on other clips, which I believe is probably what they did in this edit, because there's so many little shakes that it would probably have taken them a lot of time to just add each one individually. So I'm sure they just used or created a few presets and threw them around in their timeline. So down here on my timeline, we have a couple clips from another music video I shot with the same artist. We're gonna be adding some of these kind of zoom hits to this music video as well. Now there's a couple ways to do this. First way I like to do is just take some of my presets out of my blueprints pack, which you can download on ventorvisuals.com, and just apply them to the clip. So you can use these as both transitions and effects. So for example, let's just add a little bit of a hit right here, hit C on my keyboard. I'm just gonna cut out a few frames from this clip right here, and I'm gonna drag this preset from my preset pack called kick drum. I'm gonna drag it onto this clip right here. Now you can see it's already working, and this little impact is going to be in our music video now. Without having to create it from scratch, we have this little impact right there. So boom, if I play that back, boom. So it's just a little impact that I can throw in using my preset pack. It takes seconds to do that. Again, if I wanted to add another little something to the end of this clip, maybe I could use this one that you guys see me using in most of my videos. That is probably my favorite preset in the whole blueprints pack. It's called Horror. I'm gonna throw that onto this end of this clip right here. You can see it just kind of flashing right there. Just a little way to make the edit slap a little bit harder. So let's play both these back. Boom, boom. So really cool. You can see how dynamic the music video looks just within seconds of applying a few presets from my blueprints pack. We can really take our edit to the next level. If I go to this cut right here and hold shift and go to the left once and then make a cut right there, hold shift, go to the right twice, make a cut right there. So we have about 10 frames. What I'm gonna do is just highlight both those clips, right click on them and hit nest and hit OK. Now what I can do is add any of these presets onto this to make it a transition. So let's go ahead and try this. Let's use this whipped cream preset. Let's drag this onto our nested sequence here. And now as I scroll over it, you can see this transition happening. Since there's a little bit of red spot on my timeline, this is gonna take our computer a little bit longer to play back. It might lag a little bit. So in order to counter that, I'm just gonna make my in and out points by hitting I and O, coming up here to sequence and hitting render into out. This is gonna make sure that it plays back at full speed. So boom, there is the transition. That's our whipped cream preset from the blueprints pack. Again, it's just a really clean little transition there. It's got a little color with it too, which makes it stand out a little bit. And you can change the color. You can go into the actual transition preset. You can open up this circle and we can change the color of this transition. So let's change it from orange. Let's go with a bluer color right here and hit OK. Now you can see the transition now changes to blue. And then again, we're gonna have to render that back out. So we'll go up to render, and now it's gonna be kind of this bluer transition. It's just a really easy way to kind of speed up the process in Premiere Pro and get some really dope effects. If you wanna create your own shake transitions from scratch, it's really easy. So let's just take these two clips right here. We got this one of him kind of pointing at the camera, standing up, and then we got this next clip that's just very similar, but definitely a little bit different, a little bit closer up on this second clip. Start at this center cut here. Again, we're gonna hold shift and go to the left 5 frames, hit C, hold shift, go to the right twice, cut that as well, and now we're going to nest those two clips together so it combines into kind of one clip here. Now what I'm going to do is take our transform effect from our effects panel. I'm going to throw a transform onto this clip, and now what you can do is keyframe the scale, the position, and the rotation as much as you want. So for this, let's go ahead and zoom in and then zoom out as the clip transition. So what I'm going to do is make a keyframe under scale. We're going to do that, and we're going to move it in there so it zooms in, and then in this next clip it'll be back to 100 right there. So we get this little punch in right here, boom. So it's just a little punchy transition. What I can do to kind of blend this a little bit more is turn up our shutter angle to 360. Now you can see that adds a little bit of motion blur into this little hit right here. So boom, and you'll notice that it gets a lot blurrier around the edges once this transition starts to take place. Now, if you wanna make this shake transition a lot shakier, what you can do is drag these keyframes in quite a bit there, maybe about 2 frames apart. We're just gonna copy paste these keyframes on our effect here. So now there's kind of like this double shake effect going on in between these two clips with all that blur. So this is gonna look really interesting. Let's go ahead and watch this back at full speed. Oh, boom. Just kind of this subtle double shake, you know, kind of double zoom hit transition that just looks really clean. Now with their music video, Free the Shiners, they definitely spammed these zoom shake transitions and effects in their music video as well. And there's quite a few of them that are all different in their music video. But in their music video, they probably also used a directional blur on top of it to give it that more emphasized shake effect. So what we can do is apply a directional blur to the same nested sequence. We can turn up our blur length quite a bit here. Let's go up to like 15, and then we can change the direction. You can see how that makes our clip look depending on what direction we're going in. And then we can keyframe the direction. Let's go ahead and keyframe our direction around. If I want to save this effect and use it again down my timeline, what I can do is just hit Command on my keyboard, click on directional blur and transform. With both of those selected, I can right click on it and hit save preset, and we can save this as like zoom, shake, transition. Let's go ahead and apply this preset we just created in between these two clips. So let's just go a couple frames over here. You can just go 2 frames over on each side, right click both of those and hit nest. Hit OK, and I'm gonna come to my presets and boom, there it is, zoom, shake, transition. I'm gonna apply that to my nested sequence, and now you can see that effect working in between these two clips as well. So boom, just a little something to add some impact, some movement to your next music video. So if I play both these transitions back on loop, you can see what it looks like, boom. It's just these little hits that kind of add this momentum, this juice to these harder hitting music videos, and they really will work on these beat hits, make the beat pop a lot more and make the visual hot. So definitely don't be scared to throw these around in your timeline. A lot of transform, a lot of directional blur, and then saving them as presets, throwing them around, saving time. It's just a great way to enhance your edits. So as you saw in today's tutorial, you definitely don't need to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on the newest plugins to be the same level as all these editors that are working with big name artists like EST GEE. You really just need a good understanding of the foundation of what these programs can offer: Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects, Photoshop. Once you learn the basics, the plugins are just gonna be the cherry on top. If you're a video editor who's looking to sauce up your next video today, definitely check out my website, venturevisuals.com. I got overlays, transitions, a bunch of other stuff on there, all of which you can try for free when you download the free pack. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, hit me up on Instagram at venturevisuals. I'm always checking my Instagram. It's been a great way to connect with this community and see so much of you guys' work and just chop it up with you guys. I just love the ability that YouTube gives us creators to reach out and connect with each other. And I think it's just been a great experience so far, building this community, seeing all of your work that you guys send me, and just learning more about what it means to be a video editor. So thank you guys for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. And until next time, I'm Jake Venner. Peace out.